So let's get into this. So today, what I want to do is explain what the metaverse is and why we should actually care about it. Describe how extended reality technologies, XR for short, how they work and how they're combining to help create the metaverse. Describe how the metaverse can change things, ranging from online gaming and fashion to education and finance. Look at some standards that are going to actually play a role in building and traversing the metaverse, and then adopt and apply a virtual/augmented reality meeting platform for teaching and learning purposes. So I always start out with, the metaverse is not a new concept. In fact, it was first referenced in Snow Crash in 1992 by Neal Stephenson. And so that's like when it first came out. So, and then lately it's been gaining more and more traction, especially with, huge technology giants like, Facebook. They switched their name over to Meta. I do get a lot of questions about, well, Facebook's stocks are going way down, so the metaverse is dead. That's far from true, I think. I mean, yeah, their stocks did go way down, but luckily they're not the only company working to try to build this metaverse. So again, it's not a new concept, but it is gaining a ton of traction at this point. So what is the metaverse? So it's a network of interconnected 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. And that I think is a big part of it. It is a digital space represented by digital representations of people, places, and things. And what I love about this is that it's considered an embodied internet, right? Where people will be able to meet and all that kind of thing in these different spaces. The embodied internet, if you think about it, Web 1.0 was the introduction of the web. And I remember when I first got on dial-up and was just blown away by, so someone's getting an echo. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully it's not coming from my computer. So this embodied internet. So I remember when dial-up first came up and I was just blown away, even though it was super slow, but I was blown away and I could see the potential. I think probably a lot of you could see the potential. So then we had Web 2.0, which is when we started seeing mobile connectivity and social media started to blossom, and we started to have this new kind of, creating our own content instead of just consuming it and that sort of thing. And then we're starting now to see this Web 3.0, which is like a decentralized internet. But the embodied part of it is where we're actually walking into the internet. It's sort of, like the Matrix or Tron, Ready Player One, these types of things. So now, computing is in the virtual space, but we're also bringing computing into the physical space as well. And that, for me, is extremely exciting. So here's just, I'm not going to play the whole video, but here's just an idea of what the metaverse could be. And you'll see at the beginning that, and there is no sound, I'm just going to narrate over a little bit, that these are lightweight glasses. And that's what they're striving for. But if you think about it, they're trying to fit a supercomputer into some form factor of something very small like glasses. So that's a big problem to solve. I will be really happy one of these days to do that. While this video is playing, I've been testing a bunch of similar glasses. I don't know if you can see this or not, but similar glasses like this, but you can see it's tethered. Really not a good thing. It's tethered to your phone. Most of us have phones in our pockets. And then stuff like this as well, which you'll see in manufacturing. So they're kind of protective lenses, but they're also augmented glasses. But I'm looking forward to the day when they look like the glasses I'm actually wearing, and we're able to walk around and see data superimposed over our physical surroundings. And that is exciting. But it's also exciting to be able to take your glasses off and be removed from it completely and not have to think about it. But you can see here, you can see how this type of tech has got some serious possibilities for future. By the way, a lot of this stuff does exist now. It's just not as seamless and robust as we'd like to see it at this point. So again, I'm not gonna play the whole video because again, there's a lot I want to go through, but this is kind of gives you an idea of what it might look like in the future. Recently, Samsung joined 200 other firms in Korea's Metaverse Alliance. And the main objective of this is to kind of establish the country's metaverse ecosystem. And so what they've done in this is they've actually designated, I want to say 5 or 6 industries that are going to adopt this metaverse technology. And actually education is one of them. So you've got medicine, manufacturing, construction, retail, military, and education. So the top 3, I have an 11-year-old son who is very into Minecraft, Fortnite, and Roblox. And they are video games, but you know what? They're also the building block of the metaverse. And I watch my son go crazy in Minecraft and he does all these things and he's building these things. And at his school, they use Minecraft for education, and they're actually in Minecraft because that's where these kids are anyway. And a lot of their lessons are in there: digital literacy, chemistry, computer coding, social sciences, all this stuff you can now learn in Minecraft. So again, the building block of the metaverse. Eventually, with Web 3.0 and the decentralization of the internet, we're going to be able to hopefully kind of walk through these different systems, these different platforms, and be able to kind of continue on in these different platforms. So if you create something in Minecraft, you technically should be able to bring it into Roblox as well. So these younger video gamers are becoming more like investors instead of just buying things or investing in digital assets. And then there's Decentraland and Active Worlds, which you can see the date is 1995, nothing new. Second Life was big in 2003. And if you want to get a little bit more sophisticated with some of the building, it's good to know about Minecraft and all these things, but also look at some Unity documentation, because you can do a lot of really amazing things in Unity and also like Unreal and that sort of thing. And we'll look at some other applications to kind of get you started with building for the metaverse. I do use this XR a lot, extended reality. So really the X is a variable that can stand for anything at this point. Right now, it really includes 360-degree imagery, 360 VR, which is 3 degrees of freedom, 3 DOF. True VR, it's 6 degrees of freedom, so you can kind of, you're completely simulated. Augmented reality, mixed reality is more Microsoft's version of it's like augmented reality, but the objects kind of sense that you're there, and it's more of an AI type of thing now. And spatial computing is what was termed by Magic Leap, which is a Florida company that's been struggling a little bit, but they seem to be kind of catching, again, some more traction. So this extended reality is the full spectrum of immersive technologies. So, you always get these questions too. So I actually taught a bunch of middle school science teachers yesterday. It was an in-service day for them. And I brought a bunch of VR headsets, and we talked a lot about what science educators can do in virtual reality. And so, I always bring up, can XR solve a problem? And yes, it can, but there's a lot of other problems to be solved. Is it the best solution? No, it's not. It really depends. So there's not one modality that's going to be the best for education, right? I will say, though, that a lot of my experience in VR and XR, especially just anecdotal evidence, it's quite amazing, and students tend to really love it. So more on that in a minute. So one of the problems we had yesterday was I went to a middle school and I was working with science professors, science teachers, and their internet was really slow. And that can be a problem, right? So 1.32 megabits download speed is horrible. As you all know, it's just super slow. But so you do need a robust system. So I was telling these teachers, if this is something that you want to do, you really do need to work with your IT department and either get some kind of dedicated access point for Wi-Fi in your room. Just make sure you've got enough bandwidth to handle this kind of thing. Now, note, you don't always need an internet connection, though, to use VR. So you can download software that works on your headset without being connected to the internet. Obviously, you'll need to be connected to the internet to download it to your device. So you're also going to need a good connection to update your system, and then to cast, which we're going to do in a little while. I'm going to cast what I'm doing in VR to my screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. And then also to participate in these multiplayer games or when using social VR applications, you would definitely need a robust Wi-Fi speed for that. I'm not going to read all of this to you, and I will give you the slides. But I think it's interesting that the second point is, outside of gaming, the sectors anticipated to experience the most growth in VR and AR are healthcare. Healthcare is big with this. Education, 28%. Workforce development, manufacturing, automotive, marketing's a big one. Logistics is too. I mean, you look at like Amazon warehouses, for example, they're using augmented reality technologies all over their floor in their factories. Retail and military. I thought military would be a little bit higher, but according to this source, 13%. The 77% of the people who already use VR say they want to have more social engagement. And a lot of people think that with VR, you're like completely isolated, and that's true, but with social VR, you're not. And we're going to explore that in a few. And then the last one, 75% of the Forbes list of the world's most valuable brands have already invested in some manner of AR, VR experience. Again, it's not new, but it is gaining traction. I found this interesting. Technology futurist, she works at Forbes magazine, Kathy Hakel. A couple months ago, she searched for the word metaverse in the job section in LinkedIn. And she found over 30 pages of roles that include that term in some form or another. So when you think of something like that, it's like, wow, that's amazing, because so many careers don't even exist right now, right? And we're not teaching for, well, a lot of times you teach for a certain career, but not always. There's certain careers, like my 11-year-old son, there's a career that doesn't even exist yet that he might be involved in, especially he's a huge gamer. And so there's avenues he can take. So really, it is an exciting time to consider how careers are going to change and evolve, especially when you introduce new technologies like extended realities in the metaverse. So this Republic Realm Academy is a series of online courses all about the metaverse. They bring in NFTs. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But they have this whole thing set up where you can learn more about it. So I haven't signed up yet, but I'm planning to do it. Now, this is a really ugly slide, and I still have this thing in the middle. Let me move it. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but I did want to provide the technical overview and standards just so you have it. So one thing that I thought was important was that WebXR, their device API, actually replaced WebVR. That's deprecated now. It doesn't exist. There's really not many browsers that support WebVR at this point. But if you're interested, look up the WebXR device API. That's all up there. And you can test all this stuff. If you have ideas, but you don't have the headsets to do it, you can use the WebXR API emulator and kind of get an idea of how this stuff can be built. WebXR, excuse me, let me turn my light on, sorry. I hate when it does that. WebXR does the timing, the scheduling, and all that stuff. It does not know how to manage the 3-dimensional models, or how to render them, and that's where WebGL jumps in, right? So it's good to know a little bit of both, so you can see how those two work together. X3D, there used to be a thing called VRML, virtual reality modeling language. It's now X3D, and that's the open standard for interactive real-time 3D. So there's a lot of really great stuff going on in WebVR, WebXR, and it's pretty incredible. Like, for example, Mozilla has a browser that supports so much VR stuff that you can hop right into and and do a lot of stuff. And I think I might have a video on here. If not, I can send it to you all later. And let's see. I'm not going to go into all this other stuff. I do want to point out though, I do want to point out that in terms of accessibility, VR does have a ways to go still. But Seeing VR is a research toolkit for making virtual reality more accessible to people with low vision. And I did test this set of glasses called New Eyes that do the same thing. They actually magnify things for people that have low vision. Yeah, I'll definitely give you a copy, Brian, of my slide deck for sure. So, with these New Eyes glasses, you can wear them and you can, change the contrast of your reality. And that's very important. So I always ask this question: can immersive technologies improve learning and provide more engaging collaborative experiences? And the answer is really just an emphatic yes. Yes, they can. So 2 reports I'd like to point out: Learning in 3 Dimensions and XR for Teaching and Learning. They're all through EDUCAUSE. They're amazing. Tons of case studies in here. If you're trying to figure out what you want to do, or if you have no ideas, this is a really good place to kind of start, to scratching the surface of what's possible with extended realities in education. Here's a couple little examples. The one over here, I'm just going to loop it real quick. So I'm looking at the iPad at the heart, and these 2 students, one's wearing a Magic Leap, the other one's wearing a HoloLens. And they're able to see this huge heart. They're able to go inside the heart. They're able to move parts of it around. They remember this experience, right? And they told me they came back and they aced their A&P exam. They said it was a lot better than the plastic models that they use, because there's movement and everything's identified in real time when you use the AR version. And then over here is Anatomy X, which is a co-location. So we're looking at this digital cadaver in one space, and me and my intern are just kind of walking through it. And as you look at different parts of the muscle, you can kind of see it here. It's identifying those parts. And as I walk through the muscles, it dissolves and I go deeper into the body and I can learn more about what's going on. So, reading about the body is important. I'm learning that way. This is just another tool for me to really kind of start to understand how this, how different parts are identified. When you do something like this, again, this 2-dimensional screen does not do it justice, but when you have a 40-foot or 50-foot, cadaver in your room, you can really explore human anatomy. So it's a great way to study and a great way to learn. A lot of this, by the way, is all voice activated too, so you don't necessarily have to have your controllers. And then just real quick, we do subscribe to Visible Body, which they have a lot of 3D models. They have quizzes built into these models. You can connect it to your course management system, and they also have an augmented reality version as well. So if you've never seen this, you might want to look into it. Visiblebody.com. Not much more to say about it, but it is pretty impressive. They've got a lot of great stuff in here. So this was interesting because I get another question all the time, like, well, do you have any evidence that VR is great for learning? And it's still kind of in its early stages at this point. This is one study that I thought was interesting, and obviously it's way more involved, but there are some highlights that I just want to point out. It says that given that the learning was the same, regardless of condition, what remains is the fact that participants widely favored the VR experience. 78%, in fact, preferred the VR condition. They thought it was easier to visualize, more realistic, more immersive, more fun, more interesting, and more accurate. And they went on to say that as a method of engaging students, using VR was successful in our study and was not achieved at the cost of learning gains. Novelty does diminish, however, so an advantage based on novelty alone will cease to be an advantage as exposure rises. And VR is a field of technology that is growing quick. Okay. I just wanted to point this out. If you've never looked at Immersive Learning Research Network, highly recommend at least looking at this report on the state of XR and immersive learning report. There's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of good case studies in there as well. Let's see, 225. Okay. So some tech trends in higher ed with regards to the metaverse, NFTs, and DOOs. So we already talked about this. Metaverse really is more of a buzzword at this point. But with huge companies like Facebook and Microsoft announcing these new immersive platforms, you know, you're starting to enable presence and shared experiences from literally anywhere and on any device. And that's, again, I think it's pretty exciting. So all of this stuff powered by true broadband, you know, like 5G, Starlink satellites, edge computing. All of this is going to offer low latency technologies to enable real-time augmented and virtual reality. Hopefully with stuff like Starlink satellites, it's going to be more affordable for people in like rural areas that don't have robust internet access. This article that I've listed here, this is interesting, I think, states that the metaverse in higher education will soon become the platform of learning management systems that leverage the persistent platform. This is an exact quote, by the way. Leverage the persistent platform, range of communication possibilities, and deeply immersive characteristics to bring about better learning outcomes. And then he goes on to write the ability to virtually engage in and repeat, which is important, physical tasks while immersing oneself in virtual or real-time augmented environments will add a deep dimension to the physical or virtual classroom, far beyond textbook narratives, illustrations, and videos. This article also talks about NFTs, and you can't listen to the author of the article. There's a source here. I'll give you that. I don't know who it is off the top of my head, but it's the source is right down here. So the non-fungible tokens, NFTs, again, you can watch CNBC financial news for 10 minutes and they'll probably mention NFTs 30 times. It's crazy, but they're enabled by the blockchain. And so what this technology essentially does, lets you create a digital file that is unique and has code that basically shows its proof of authenticity. MIT is using this type of thing to authenticate college certificates, transcripts, and e-portfolios. So those are actually shared by students and teachers, not the university. So maybe NFTs are going to replace diplomas and resumes. Who knows? But something to kind of think about. Excuse me. This just popped up in the news recently too. This is a charter school in Florida, and it's the first virtual reality school, and it's pretty interesting what they're actually working on. I did reach out to them recently and see if they have any adjunct openings because I would love to teach in this space. And they actually replied, and they're interested in finding a librarian. So I am a librarian by trade. So, you know, as part-time work, I'll see if I can actually help them bring the library into their virtual reality program. Pretty exciting. Over here on the right is Engage. And this is the platform that the charter school I just mentioned to you is using. That's the platform they use. Now, this is a tour, and you can see we all look like cartoons, but this is a beautiful tour. Again, this is two-dimensional. When you're in 3D, it's like we have jetpacks and we're flying around this. It's amazing. So this is the technology that they're using. Now, I'll let that continue to go. Over here on the other side, this is a 360 image. And I was more of a consultant for a private school, and they wanted to introduce VR into their health programs. And so I went in and did a 360 image. And what's nice, you can add it, you can make it into a GLB file, and then you would import it into Spatial. And what's nice is I can then pull it in and be in that room. Now, if I was going to create a model of a room, I would obviously not be in the picture. I would scan it with software, so I'm not in the frame, right? So that's pretty amazing. And I could create this and put it in Spatial and then walk around in 6 degrees of freedom in that space. So I could create multiple classrooms that look photorealistic. So yeah, Kevin, there are some VR platforms that have legs, but for the most part, when you're meeting, a lot of times you're sitting down. So, and I think it does require a little bit more processing too. So, but yeah, there are some that do have legs. Let's see. And I find this to be pretty interesting too. So on the left is an augmented reality version. That's a network. So these are all nodes, but it's very easy to see the problem nodes. And you can interestingly select a node and then that expands into more detail. You can see this person's actually using their hand. I've used this immersion analytics visualizer before, and it's amazing. It really is. So data visualization in 3D like this is just, and it's a fun experience. And then on the right is the 3D 3 data visualizer, and so he's looking at this pretty complex piece, which would be hard to view on a 2D screen. I mean, you can still do it, but you can also see that he's collaborating with somebody in there as well. So stepping inside data. So, all right. A couple things about this. This is building information modeling. So this is software that you can see here. This is photorealistic, and eventually we're going to be able to see these types of spaces. Or you can now actually. You can see these types of spaces in VR, and it's like you're in these spaces. So Google Earth, for example, being able to just traverse the world and see these types of things. So this is software that's building this. It's more like architectural type of stuff, but it does port over to VR pretty quickly. So gorgeous stuff. A couple months ago, well, actually it was last year, I went to Microsoft Ignite, but I was in Altspace VR. And what was really cool is, we're hanging out in Altspace VR, and there was all these cartoon looking avatars. And we're all in this room. Well, then this gentleman, the founder of the HoloLens, just walks into this virtual reality room, but he looks like himself. He looks like a human, and he starts bringing in all these fish and whales and stuff that look real. So we're like VR, we look more, like I said, more like cartoons. But he was bringing in stuff that looked real, and he looked real. So I was like, wow, this is incredible. Once it becomes more photorealistic, that's when it's going to start taking off, even more than it already has. So Microsoft Mesh, by the way, they have it working inside Altspace VR, but they're also getting ready to introduce Microsoft Mesh into Teams. So there's going to be a Metaverse function inside Teams. So that'll be fun to look for. I signed up for the beta invite a couple months ago, so I'm excited to hear if I get into it soon. Okay. Let's see, how am I doing on time? Okay. So Google a while ago had it set up to where you can do a search, and then it'll give you a 3D object that you can look at, and obviously 3D, but then you can also put it in your space. And I thought, well, I want to work on that. So I took an idea of like a student research paper, and so on the left, that's the research paper. And then I was like, well, I want to add a 3D object. So instead of a thumbnail of something that's 3D and that's going to be 2D at this point, you've got so many possibilities here. So I was able to, with a little bit of code, add this 3D object. And I've got this link. I can send this to you, and you can try it on your phone. But what's nice is you can then view it in your space. And you've all probably done this before, but I'm thinking research papers should be doing this, especially if you're talking about 3D content, because it would not be difficult to get in front of a class and to present this to your classmates and your professor, and then to be like, oh, if you guys have phones, if not, you can have, loaner phones in that classroom, and say, let's all look at my 3D object, whatever it is, in the space, in the size it's supposed to be. We can all walk around it. That's the type of research paper I want to help students work on. So something to kind of play around with. This book, I'm really looking forward to reading. So available July 19th, but they talk about, important problems that we haven't solved in the mobile internet, data rights, data security, radicalization, misinformation is a big one, and platform power. A lot of this stuff, there are problems right now. They're going to be problems in the metaverse, right? So it's just stuff that we have to think about, right? And this, the source is down there as well. This was interesting, I thought. Who gets to augment reality? And in this interview, this was an interview with Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. So this is part of that interview. And he talked about a world where we all are wearing our headsets and we're looking at the US Capitol building. And most of us might have an overlay, an augmented reality overlay that says, this is the building where Congress works, right? Some people might see an overlay that says, on January 6, 2021, our glorious revolution began, right? And then some people might have an overlay that says, lizard people are inside doing experiments on humans. So they go on to say that the real question here is, does this metaverse further splinter our sense of shared reality? Probably, right? Does it let us sort ourselves into a bunch of unrelated bubbles? Probably. And should we be worried about it? Yes, we should. And yeah, there has been cases of sexual harassment in the virtual world. They do have, like, when I first tried Rec Room, which is like another VR platform, all these avatars came right up on me, and it was uncomfortable, even in virtual reality space. So they actually created a bubble where you can actually have your own space. People can't get in it. So they had to fix that, because that was a big problem. So something to think about. I always get a question like, what are the best VR headsets for this year coming up? My favorite's the Quest 2, which I'm going to put on here in a minute to go into Spatial. It's $299, and you don't need a computer. You can still connect it to a computer to do more high-end graphics and stuff, but you don't need it. So it's getting even more affordable now, which is great. The PlayStation VR, they're getting ready to have PlayStation VR 2, which is exciting. My son has that was the first thing we kind of played with was the PlayStation. And it's about $500, but you also need the PlayStation console, right? Valve Index is another one. You can see it's getting a little bit more expensive. And then the HTC Vive Pro, about $1,400. And we've got an HTC Vive here as well that does more high-end type of stuff. So, and some of the best AR headsets and glasses. Facebook recently, or Meta recently, put out Ray-Ban Stories. They look like regular sunglasses. Some of them have glasses. And a lot of these they can be real lenses. So you can have progressive lenses or prescription lenses. Snapchat spectacles, about $380. The Blade, $1,000. So you can see they're expensive. The HoloLens, we have the HoloLens 1 here. The new one's coming out. It's not ready for consumers yet, but it's like $3,500. That's very expensive as well. Nreal Light, they have like a little puck, like a phone that you connect to. They're $600. And then Magic Leap 2 is supposedly coming out later this year. We have a Magic Leap 1. that is pretty impressive, but not mind-blowingly impressive, if that makes sense. So, but the new one is probably going to be about $3,000. All right, so this is another ugly slide. I'm not going to read all of them to you, but these are some VR meeting applications in alphabetical order. We're going to look at Spatial here in a minute. I was just on a side note, I was doing Horizon workrooms, and that was really cool. Like I was able to draw my desk on my actual desk. I could do pass through, like where I could see my computer, or I could just have it be completely in VR. So I could have it in pass through and also in VR. I was able to present this workshop in there. I was able to put it on a shared screen and people could see it in that space. But you can see there's a lot of them in here. There's actually even more than this. But anyway, that's a good slide. And you'll have access to all these slides, so you don't need to think you need to jot these all down. And getting into Spatial, it started out as a augmented reality company, and they still do augmented reality, but they also switched it into VR, which is great. I've been beta testing this since September of 2019, so going on 3 years, and it's been great to see them evolve into where they are today. So they've done a lot, and so you can kind of get an idea. These are all holograms in my office, and bringing in a 3D model that we could all be inside of, or we can bring it down in a dollhouse view and that sort of thing. And then here's just another old video. And by the way, there is a sense of presence here that is mind-blowing because you feel like you're going to bump into these people. Again, it doesn't do it any justice on this screen, but so. And we're gonna meet here in a minute. I'm looking over here on here, and it looks like there's a few people having issues getting in. Let me think about that in a second. But here's where we're gonna meet originally. Is the Louis Marcoya room. He is a prototype, or excuse me, a protege of Salvador Dali. You can't see it here, but his artwork comes off the canvas, and you don't need glasses or anything special to wear. You just see everything in 3D. And so I worked with him to get some of his artwork inside VR, and that's the gallery that we'll meet. And then you can see those little circle things there. Those are called portals to different rooms. And then Rick Hill, he's an instructional designer. He and I worked together last time. He 3D scanned this frog. It's a real frog. Can't really tell here, but it's beautiful in VR. And the beauty of this is you can duplicate that frog as many times as you need and create a quick lab in your VR space. So now you don't need to store a bunch of frogs in your lab. You can just have it, one digital copy and make a bunch of various copies. So, okay. So, the beauty of Spatial is you do not have to have a VR or an AR headset to get in. You can use a phone. I've actually done it through the web without the app, but they do have an app. And they also, you can be on desktop and tablet mode as well. And so I think a lot of you right now, so now that's the presentation at this point. Does anybody have any questions before I actually hop into VR? It seems like a few people had issues getting in. Yeah, that's the correct link, Savannah, I believe. So you should be in there. By the way, I have my contact info here. Let me leave that up for a second. I know there's only 6 minutes left, but we can meet in Spatial. I'll be there in a minute. We can continue in there for a while if you want. It's up to you. I'm free for the rest of the afternoon. My contact info is right here on the screen. Please contact me with any questions or things you want to share. If you want to meet in Spatial at another time, we can do that as well. I'm going to send Tom my slides, but you can see I've got a million supplemental slides in here as well. I just didn't have the time to go into all of it, but I still wanted to provide you with those. So they're all in there as well. So what I'm going to do, let's see. if there's any other questions or issues here. Okay. Looks like you guys are starting to get in there now, which is good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this screen here. And I'm going to bring in, so here's Spatial. This is what it looks like when you are on the desktop view. And my desktop sometimes is slow. Looks like there's 47 people in there right now. That's crazy. I didn't think it would support that many. So that's amazing. So I'm actually, so this is the desktop version, obviously. Let me get out of here. What's nice is you can, oh, the space is full. So I wonder if I'm able to get in there since I'm the admin. So what I'm going to try to do, though, for those of you that aren't going to go in there, is I'm going to bring up this. This is oculus.com/cast. So what I'm going to do is, here's my headset, right? I'm going to hop in to my Quest. I'm going to go into VR now, and I'm going to cast this to my computer, so you should still be able to see what I'm doing. And hopefully I can get into Spatial. It looks like, I'm shocked that there's 47 people in there because it's technically only supposed to hold 32. So anyway, I'm going to be in there in a second. So give me one sec. Okay, so you should, hopefully, you should see what I'm looking at. So I'm in my little room. Let me close this out for a minute. So I'm in my room, beautiful waterfall, right? Got some furniture in here. But if I look down, you can see that my audio is working. I can select all these different options, but what I want to do is I want to look at my spaces. So I'm going to go click on spaces. This is where I can see that there are 43 people in here. I'm going to try it, see if I can get in. I'm going to select it. So now I'm joining the Lewis Marcoya room. It says I am the administrator. And wow. Okay, I'm close to getting there. Let's see, I see Tom. How are you? Looks like, okay, there's going to be some feedback, I think. Looks like there's a lot of objects being brought in here, which is fine. But you can tell the more people that are in here and the more objects that are in here, the slower this system will be, at least right now. I've never had this many people in here. This is exciting. You can see there's a few people dancing. Steve, good job. I like it. Are you guys able to hear me still, hopefully? Yeah?
Yes.
Great, great. So, by the way, the people that are in VR, you can tell that there's people that are on the desktop. You can see their faces are here. And some people, like Tim over there, is on video, so I can see his webcam. And so this is just a gallery. And what's nice is if you get in front, those of you on a desktop, you won't be able to see it real well. But this piece right here in VR is in 3D, and it's pretty beautiful. So, yeah. And someone's bringing in a Rubik's Cube. So when you look down, you can see that you've got ways to add content. So I'm looking at my plus sign here. For those of you that can see it on my screen, I can add like content that's already here, but you can see that I've also got my Google Drive connected. I can connect Slack, Figma, Microsoft 365. So if I click on Drive, I can see some stuff in here. So if I wanted to, let's do, here's my Metaverse slides. I think this is it. Let's see. All right, somebody's moving something cool around. I like that. What is that, fire? So this is taking a little bit to load. By the way, you see where like over there on the right corner, well, it's my right, I guess. It says Pearl Harbor. Those are portals. So we've got different portals. So you can go into different rooms. So you don't have to have one room. So like, for example, if we had 100 people in here, I would probably create different portals to go to different rooms and then just have a colleague in that room to kind of keep people, entertained, I guess, in there. So yeah, there's a lot of people here. What I want to try, so my slides just went away for some reason, but what I'm going to try to do here is I can add my own notes in here if I want. I can do voice to text notes, so I don't have to type or write anything in here. So if I went up, I am temporarily muted, but I am speaking. So let's see. You're having a laptop issue? Anyway, does anybody have any questions? This is one of those places that you kind of need to hang out in and just kind of look at all the stuff that you can bring in. So there, if you wanted to, if you're on a desktop, you could actually share your screen and bring your screen in here. We'd all be able to see, you'd be able to present from your desktop in here for us. If I want to scribble, I can draw in the air if I want. It's kind of neat, right? Change the color, add green to it if I want. So a lot you can do. And then once you're done, you can make it as big as you want, do what you need to do, right? It is cool. I want to try to figure out real quick, let's see, while we're all in here, let's see. Where is there should be a, let's get that out of the way. They used to have a selfie stick in here where we could do a quick photo of all of us in here. So let me see if I can find that. Oh, here's my presentation, by the way. For some reason, there might just be too many people in here. But, yeah, still trying to load. There it is. So if I wanted to, we could be in here and I could present on the Metaverse in here. It disappeared again. Oh, wait, here it is. So you can see I can make that as big as I want and I can continue to present to you, which is what I just did. But kind of cool, right? You can bring video in here. You can do your own 3D objects. Somebody's got their hand up. Steve? Yep. Showing your dance moves, nice. Yeah, any questions? Hello.
Chad?
Yes.
Dolores asked, can you have private conversations in Spatial? Or does it go to everyone in the room?
Not in a big room like this. I mean, we'd have to set it up to where we just go into one room together, so like kind of like a breakout room. Like I can't whisper to somebody right now. I don't think that's been a request though, believe it or not, that I should do like send it like a note to somebody, or I can whisper to somebody like you would in a meeting. So, but yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, but here's this is not a good example, but this right here, let me bring it over here. I will say I'm gonna have to let Spatial know that there's a lot of people in here and it's doing decent. It's not great, but so this was a piece of artwork that Louis Marcoya gave me, and I made it 360. Now this is it's not a high res copy, but this is what the sphere would look like. So if we did this, we could actually pull ourselves into this piece of art, and I could make this the environment if I wanted to. where I would go in and just kind of select this, and you see where it says environment, set as environment or skybox, and it's going to take it a second probably. A lot of times though, they bring up like a table with people. Let me see if I can get it to do that. Here we go. Yeah, I'm still kind of blown away by how many people are here. Any idea how many are in here? Actually, I could probably do this. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, like if I did finally find these settings where I could do a quick selfie, I could send it to all of you from in here, which is kind of neat. It is a little sluggish with this many people here, I will say that. Let's see. No, it doesn't. I'm going to see if it would tell me how many people are in here, but it doesn't. Are there? Yeah, wow. Maybe they updated their servers or something, but it used to be 32 was the max. And I'm actually surprised that, I mean, so the room right now is completely pink, right? You see like grids. So if I wanted to make this an environment, you see the human right there in this grid. I can put a 3D model or something like this on top, and I could look at it this way and go, okay, this is how I want this to look. If it was a 3D model, I would adjust the scale to fit here, and then I would just set it, and then we would be inside this space and it wouldn't move. The sphere would not move. We'd actually be in this space. So I'm just going to hit exit, and it should bring us back to our normal gallery. So that's how you would actually bring in a 3D model of a classroom or of a room or a factory or whatever it is that you want to do. What you would do. Takes a little bit of time to get it right, but it's pretty cool when you get going. What do you guys think? Pretty wild, right? I know, I love it. And like I said, you could have multiple slides in here too. Like if you wanted to do different, different projects in here, you could have, and it looks pretty good in here, I think. Have something that big as a presentation. I don't think video does work. Like I can import a video, but I don't think embedded video works. I'm going to test that real quick. That would be awesome if it did. Let's see. But I mean, I could import. Yeah, see, embedded video does not work yet. But if I had a video of this on YouTube, or if I downloaded it, I could bring it in here and you'd be able to hear it and see it. So one of these days, I'm sure they'll have it set to where we can embed video in a Google slide like that. That'll be nice. If any of you are interested in being on the early access beta team, let me know. Send me an email. I can get you set up on that if you want. All right. Well, I'll hang out in here as long as you guys want, but I feel like I'm talking too much. So. Hey, thanks. We're going to try the haptic feedback. We can do high fives too. Yep, I'm using an Oculus right now. Uh-oh, my Lewis sign went away. I'll have to fix that up later. Normally, I must not lock certain things down. That's another question I get a lot. Is I'm an administrator of this room, but I can lock certain things down. Like I obviously forgot to lock this down. So if I lock it, then people shouldn't be able to move your stuff around, so you can have control over what you want to do, kind of thing. So. Any other questions or comments? Do we really need more cats? Good question. Here's one. Kind of weird looking cat. You could 3D scan a cat and bring a real looking cat in if you wanted. I'm still not a huge fan of the cartoon looking stuff, but if you were just doing a regular, you could do that. All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I'll send Tom my slides that you can have access to. Please don't hesitate to get a hold of me with questions or things you want to share, anything like that. Or if you want to meet in here again, to kind of, really see what's going on with fewer people, then I'd be happy to set that up. So just let me know. Thank you. That was fun.